Something stuck with me that you said that you've named it Hong Kong Visa, meaning that this puts you in the position also from search perspective. When somebody types that, you instantly come up first. And what I've noticed that a lot of people who offer small firms offer such type of services, they name either the name of the person who's offering the service or just use brand names that people are not necessarily searching for. So this puts them in a bad position essentially to be found on the web. Would you consider that a mistake? Or?
Yeah, I think it's a real mistake. My first company was called LLB Consultancy. 1993 I established that. The reason why I called it LLB Consultancy is because 3 or 4 months earlier I'd got my LLB degree. So I wanted to have a company that, you know, had the association of law in it. So I called it LLB Consultancy. What does that mean? And then the second business that I was involved in at that, in the immigration level, was when I did another deal. And that company has a brand name that has a kind of an association with immigration, but it doesn't really tell you kind of what they do. So at first blush, when you see that word, it doesn't tell you what they're all about. And sort of that was a mistake that I made then, but even though I didn't control that decision. And then when I did the Orla business, trying to figure out how we should really call that took us on a journey where first I wanted to call it work from an empty inbox, because if you adopted that maxim using the tool that we developed, the 4D decision making methodology, you would get all the work that results from the email that you receive completely organized inside Microsoft Outlook if you worked from an empty inbox. So my thinking there was just be direct, work from an empty inbox, hang your story on the back of work from an empty inbox. But that proved just to be too arcane, so we reduced it down to empty inbox. And then finally we brought in a professional branding organisation who decided that we should settle on Orla. So I thought, okay, Orla's fine, and that kind of represented pretty good thinking at the time. But we needed a tagline. And I came up with the idea that we should call it Orla, work is less work. What a stupid decision. How the hell is anybody going to know what Orla work is less work is all about? So I learned that lesson, and I thought, no, when we come to what is now the Hong Kong Visa Centre, I'm going to call this company what it is, so people know exactly what it is that we do. So Hong Kong Visa, it runs writ large throughout everything. Because you have to be direct, not only in terms of being picked up on the internet, but you want people to know exactly what you are. You want to give them something that, you know, they can immediately associate you being in the business thereof, right? And that means when you see Hong Kong Visa, there's no doubt in your mind what we're all about. And I think that's absolutely vital. And you've got to really cut away past all the sort of industrial economy type thinking that says, you know, in order to be successful, you know, you need to position yourself in a certain way, and you need to, you know, have a label that says who you are, and then hope that that's going to be good enough. When the only thing that counts in today is people's attention, and you've got a microsecond to get people's attention. Not only have you got to use every tool available to you to attract that attention, once you've captured that attention, even for a micro moment, impress in the mind what it is that you do and what it is that you're all about. That's the key to cutting through all the clutter in an over-communicated society. You've got to be absolutely to the point with what you're all about and let people know what you are. So if you look at our website, Hong Kong Visa Centre, you can immediately associate a proposition with those words. Hong Kong Visa Handbook, similarly. Hong Kong Visa Giza, slightly different. Giza is all about ascribing my knowledge of immigration to a human being of a certain type, and you need to have a certain command of English to understand what Giza might represent. It's a pretty good starting point, and it's the best that we can do, and it rhymes nicely. And it was an idea virus that was gifted to me 15 years ago, so I would be foolish not to use it. But our corporate product, Hong Kong Visa Sherpa, when you finally see the Hong Kong Visa Sherpa proposition, you'll see it's designed to serve as a kind of like a mountaineer's guide up Mount Everest. Right, someone's going to help you carry the bags, who's going to steer you around the obstacles, going to make sure that you get taken to the top and then you can come down again. So, you know, that mind space has yet to be established, but we've put in place the elements that allow that to stand a pretty good chance of being associated with a corporate immigration product. It says Hong Kong Visa, so you know what it's all about at that level. Sherpa, okay, yeah, you know what that's all about. Does that then mean that, you know, we can immediately understand that it's in the corporate context? Possibly not, but we plan to address that through just a separate tagline that immediately sets out, that qualifies that this is about corporate immigration. And so the word that will apply in terms of how we distinguish our customers in the future will be, are they a Sherpa client or are they a Centre client?
I see that's very, very insightful what you just said, and I can see how you already apply it to intelligent content marketing as well. Just the name of it already attracts an audience that will understand what the proposition is going to be all about, so that's great. But ideally on a website, when you build it, of course you're going to want to communicate clearly, but what you should put there, how you should address your customers. You said you have to talk about you, the customer, and not about yourself as an expert, but how would you ideally do that? I mean, what you want to have on that website?
Well, it's all about understanding the reason why they are there. If you've gone to the trouble of attracting somebody to your website, you've got to say to yourself, why have you come here? What's this all about? Remember, they're only ever a click away from their next distraction. In my niche, and I'm sure it's applicable to the vast majority of other niches, they've come to our website because they've got a particular problem. And we know that what the total array of those problems can be. So everything that we've developed on our website is designed to speak to that problem. So it's not about you on your website, it's about them. So develop your proposition around solving their problems, making your content speak to the pain that they have in certain areas of their lives. And as I say, as an expert, you should know that. You should have the insight to be able to know how you can take those pains away, and just put on your website everything that's needed to be able to address the problem, but also that speaks to their desire and need to understand who you are as a potential solution to that problem. And your content proposition should be all around that, whatever it is. So if you look at our websites, you'll see how we've configured what we do in the way that we do. We built the Hong Kong Visa Handbook because that's the do-it-yourself guide. As it happens, we publish all our ongoing content into the Hong Kong Visa Handbook site as well, in the Hong Kong Visa Handbook look and feel, which is the green version of the website. Almost every day I publish a piece on the Hong Kong Visa Giza blog, which is where ultimately I'm answering questions live from people, so to speak. That then gets added to the content mix and builds on the taxonomy that we've developed. All that content gets published on Hong Kong Visa Giza, but gets syndicated into the Hong Kong Visa Handbook. As I said, presenting the same look and feel as Handbook, but it's an exact copy of the ongoing content that's reflected in Handbook as appears and first published in Giza. And then the Hong Kong Visa Centre website is where we sell our stuff. That's the professional aspect of our service. And people will find their way onto either the Giza website, onto the Handbook website, or onto the Centre website. One way or the other, they will be able to get the answers to their questions, the solutions to their problems, and they'll also have immediate access to the prospect of potentially having somebody help them by paying them, for professional assistance via the way that the links and the sales elements of our proposition are reflected on Giza and Handbook to take them off those websites, which are always 100% free and have no agenda other than to help answer questions and solve problems. But they get them onto the Centre website, where those people who really want professional help can then dig deep into who we're all about, and then we can go through the process of establishing the trust as a service provider, detailing the irresistible offer, explaining the backgrounds of Martin and I, detailing the philosophy of the firm and how it all works and what have you. So we did it, we separated our proposition into 3 specific websites in that fashion, with a 4th one, Visa Sherpa, which is where all the corporate action takes place. But the foundation is, why are people coming to our websites? And then ensuring that whatever we build and develop and produce is designed around that dynamic, recognising that there will be a slight bleed over into those areas where people want to pay for professional help, recognising, as I've discussed before, 2 types of customers for immigration service: those that want to pay and those that don't want to pay. And I'm starting to believe that it's actually applicable across all niches, right?